Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, and with Gencon literally days away, we're down to our last Gencon video. Although, least helpfully, it's also the one that I'm going to have the least information about each of these games. I've already done 2 full videos on Gencon games. There's hundreds of games. There's 574 games currently on BGG's preview for Gencon. And it's not the only games that will be at Gencon, those are just the games that made their way onto this list. That's a lot of games to filter and wade through, and so I've already given you 2 lists. I've given you a list of my personal top 20 games to buy at Gencon, my personal top 20 games to demo at Gencon. I mean, these are just my own recommendations for games to buy or demo, depending on what you're trying to do at Gencon 2024. This last video, today's video, is going to have the least information, so we'll have some notes as far as things go, but it'll have the least information of each game, because this is the video of the top 20 games that I'm most interested in checking it out more for myself, meaning I am the least informed. The other videos were very much focused on games that I either knew a lot about or had already played, and so that gave me a bit of a leg up of being able to recommend them. These are games that I know very little about. I have some brief notes, either I know the publisher, the designer, there's mechanisms at play, someone else reviewed it and said something nice about it, I don't know, but these are all games that I am interested in personally. I want to find out more. Some of them will be an absolute bust for me, and some of them I'm sure love, but I don't yet know which of those are, so I do have these ranked in least to most excited, and the ones that I'm more excited about are usually because I know a bit more about them. But with that said, let's go ahead and dive into the 20 games that I'm personally most interested in checking out, although with a caveat. It should have one caveat. Some games that I'm interested in checking out or finding out more about would have been on the other 2 videos, and those I did not include here. So these are specifically the 20 games I'm most personally interested in that didn't make their way onto the other 2 videos. And with that, let's go ahead and start off with our first one, number 20. I know very little about this. We have Altay, Dawn of Civilization. Honestly, the main thing that caught me about this one is from Ares Games. Ares doesn't put out a ton of games, and so when they do put out a game, I'm already a drop more interested, because there are some publishers who just drop a lot of games left and right center. There are publishers who don't put out that many games, but their games aren't as much of a fit for me. Ares falls into an interesting ground where they don't put out a ton of games, and their games usually are the target general space that I'm looking for in terms of games. This is going to be an original blend of deck building, civilization development, and area expansion. That on its own, bunch of keywords has me interested. The cover art has me interested. The individual one shot I have of the components doesn't pull me in as much, but I am still intrigued to find out more. There is a reason at the end of the day this is number 20 for me. I know very little about it. It's primarily Ares Games that has me interested. We have In the Footsteps of Mary Curie will have you going through a family-friendly game of basically going through the role of Mary Curie helping her win her Nobel Prize. It's going to use a cube tower for the distribution of the various radium and uranium and all of that, which I think is an interesting mechanism, the combination of the randomness and uncertainty of a cube tower combined with that. But has me intrigued. It's from Sorry We Are French that already they put out a lot of solid games in general, so as a publisher they have my interest as well, similar to the way Ares Games has. A little bit more that I know about the actual gameplay, some images, the overall production looks great, so intrigued about this one. Not completely sold, but definitely want to find out more. We have Harvest, which is a re-implementation of, well, Harvest. Coming to you from Keymaster Games, this is going to be re-implementing Harvest, but it's an older game that definitely didn't find its audience, but Harvest, this Harvest over here, is one that seems to have much more found its audience. The combination of improved production, the various modules, expansions, tweaked gameplay, all of that. When I know who's played this has had nothing but good things to say about it. It does fall into that lightweight and accessible game, so I don't think it's going to be a heavyweight or even medium weight game that's hitting my table, but there are plenty of light to light medium games that hit my table all the time, and I want to actually table Harvest and see more about it. We have Spectacular from Chili Fox Games. This is another one that falls into that lighter kind of category. Again, it's going to be easier to table. Chili Fox Games in general, the games they put out fall into that weight class. I haven't played a ton of their stuff, but what I have played from them, I've enjoyed and appreciated. So again, as a publisher, they had me interested. The cover had me interested, and then that aspect of me trying to build these animals, or what was the exact gameplay aspect? You're going to be developing your own animal park for vulnerable species. So you have to be mindful of the dice placement and how it's going to help you in the game. Be mindful of the different ways you're going to be connecting things, and also making sure to put lower value dice on them to make sure area score. So seems intriguing. Don't know a ton about it, but seems intriguing enough. We have Happy Home from Alley Cat Games. The main thing here is Alley Cat Games and polyominoes. Anything that has polyominoes already has me interested, because I like polyominoes. So Sumi, it doesn't matter how many times a polyomino game comes out, I still tend to enjoy them. They're not always going to be the next one that enters my collection, but I like that. There's something familiar and fun about the process of organizing various polyomino shapes, and doing so in this home organizational structure game from 20th Century Games definitely has me interested. 20th Century Games is a publisher. They tend to put out light to medium games. They occasionally have their heavier line as well. well, but I tend to like light to meteor, especially when it goes to polyomino, so intrigued to find out how exactly I'm going to decorate my home with the various furniture that this game comes with. We have Ozob, a cyberpunk board game. From Iron Studios, Ozob is, I believe, an already established IP, I think a role-playing IP, and this is bringing Ozob to your table with a dungeon crawler, or what seems to be a dungeon crawler by all accounts. I like dungeon crawlers, the art looks good, I'm intrigued by what the actual sequence is going to be. Is it going to feel different, or is it going to feel different and stand out in a crowded space, or is it going to just be another dungeon crawler with a new theme? Because if it's the latter, I won't be as intrigued, but if it does have interesting mechanisms that do engage you, if it's not just another dungeon crawler, then that's going to have me interested in Ozob. We have Sparks. Sparks seems intriguing in the way that you're going to be running a factory, but specifically with 6 different assistants, and the combination of your assistants' abilities is going to be the thing that makes this interesting, challenging puzzle. That kind of hook is the main thing that has me interested here, that idea of different abilities you're going to be combining that gives you a slightly different puzzle every single time you play. I tend to like that. I tend to like when you get a game that gives you a little bit of an optimization engine to work with, but it's up to you to figure out your pathway forward. How are you going to combine your abilities in ways that may get you the win as opposed to other players? So that seems intriguing over here. Art looks good, general concept looks good, powers and abilities that are going to be different every time you play, that seems good, so that's why I'm interested in Sparks. We have Reef Project from Board and Dice. This looks beautiful, first of all. It's coming to you from Board and Dice, second of all. It has an interesting mechanism where you're going to be going for 45 points, but every single turn you're trying to either build yourself up or cash in and recharge and get points based on where you're at. So it's going to be an interesting puzzle of trying to figure out what's the tempo of the various things you're doing in order to go ahead and get those victory points. And again, the production looks amazing. Board and Dice already have a great reputation. I am curious where this is going to fall weight class wise, because they tend to put out medium to heavyweight games. I'm hoping this is more in the medium weight. I think the nature of the 45 points and the way it's structured seems to be there, but overall the production, the publisher, and the general theme definitely has me interested in Reef Project. We have Middle Ages from Studio H. Middle Ages has, again, I don't know the actual gameplay of this one, but they're going to have 8 different building types, I believe. You're going to have fields, farms, villages, forts, markets, barracks, churches, and palaces. The way you combine those, each of them are going to be scoring differently as you place them into your own little tableau over here, but the way you combine those is going to be figuring out how you're going to go ahead and actually win the game over here. So anything that has different tiles that you're trying to gather in different ways, that already has me intrigued. Rating on this one, 7.3, so that's, not necessarily, again, 7.3 is a good enough rating. It's not necessarily immediately like, oh my gosh, I have to play this, but the combination of the publisher, the art, and the general gameplay aspect, definitely one that I want to try out. We have AI Space Puzzle that I believe Portal Games recently picked up, or I don't know if it's always theirs or if it's recently theirs, but either way, AI Space Puzzle is going to be a cooperative game in which you're going to have one player. You basically have players in a spaceship and you have one player playing as the AI, trying to give players kind of hidden information. Think games like Mysterium, where you're trying to convey things, but you can't do so by just talking to the players. You're given the unique set of tools the game's going to give you to try to lead players in the right direction. This kind of cooperative game, this kind of puzzle experience is generally one that I do enjoy. They're always going to be different in terms of how well, anyone works or whatnot, but I'm definitely interested in finding out more. And again, the 7.6 over here, that's a pretty decent rating overall, so I'm intrigued to find out more about AI Space Puzzle. We have Pirates of Maracaibo. Not the newest game, but it is on the Gencon preview list over here, and this is a version of Maracaibo that maintains a lot of the same elements of Maracaibo while being a bit more streamlined and simpler to dive into. As somebody who owns and hasn't played Maracaibo in a long time, Pirates of Maracaibo is definitely one I do want to try out. I've seen this played at many conventions, this like whole lineup of cards over here. So again, first of all, it's rated an 8 over here, which is definitely a good rating for any game. So the combination of Capstone games, of the DLP of, I think it's Capstone, is it Capstone? I could be wrong. I believe was Maracaibo Capstone? Am I wrong about this one? But either way, DLP games, Pirates of Maracaibo, Alexander Pfister. Is it Alexander Pfister? Please tell me it's Alexander. Yes, it is Alexander Pfister. This one has me interested in trying this one out as a possible gateway to going ahead and eventually playing the full Maracaibo game. We have Wrath of Fire Mountain. From Eric Lang, Phil Walker Harding, and Game Right. It's an interesting combination. Phil Walker Harding has always done lighter games. Eric Lang has transitioned to lighter games. Lighter games can be a good thing overall. First of all, they're great for bringing people to the hobby, but overall, I still find that I enjoy them myself. It depends on what you're trying to get out of any game. I've always said that for me, it's not about whether a game is light or heavy. It's about, is it good at what it's trying to do? And so for me, Wrath of Fire Mountain has me interested in the combination of dinosaurs, the 2 designers who are very notable dinosaurs. It seems intriguing, using a Yahtzee-style system as far as rolling dice and then then re-rolling them to get the things you need. So definitely interested in finding out more and hopefully tabling this one if I have a chance. We have Captain Flip, which I believe, did this just win this Build This Yaris or was in the running for this Build This Yaris? Either way, the rating on this one does reflect a lighter game for sure, but again, lighter games don't inherently scare me off. I am intrigued with the nature of this one. The core concept is pretty simple. You draw a card and you either like it or you flip it. That's why it's called Captain Flip. You either like the card you got or you flip the card you got. But that has me interested in terms of what's the gameplay like enough. Like, is it engaging enough or is it too simple, too straightforward? Either way, one that I want to try. A little less confident that it'll be one that I actually keep, but still interested in finding out more. We have Scoville. I played the original Scoville way back when. This is being illustrated by Vincent to Trade, so having a Scoville brought back from Trick or Treat Studios, bringing back the original Scoville as you plant and harvest peppers in this grid. Is a very, very solid game. This one actually, I think, was the original from Capstone? No, it was TMG. TMG. Is it TMG? I think it was TMG. Yeah, but either way, this is one that I'm interested in finding out more about this one as far as are there any changes or differences, or is it just basically the same exact game that's being re-illustrated or whatnot. But I enjoyed playing the original Scoville, and I'm interested in finding out more about this second edition of it. We have Quartz, the dice game, which I believe Lucky Duck is bringing to Gen Con over here. Quartz, the dice game is going to be a fairly straightforward game of, well, grabbing gems and trying to get as many points as possible through the gems that you gather. It's going to have dice, it's going to have gems, it's going to be a fast-paced, quick-scoring game. Currently rated at 7.7, which seems high for how light this game might be. Don't get me wrong, light games can be rated very highly, but it usually is a little less common to have a lighter game at 7.7, but definitely interested in finding out more. We have Ovation. This one, Looking Glass Workshop. I don't know a ton about this game. What I do know is there was an interesting element of tableau building. This was on crowdfunding a while ago. When it was on crowdfunding, I remember seeing a lot of people talking about the game and the tableau building nature of it as you gather these various patrons you're performing for and whatnot. It seemed very interesting. It seemed very involved. I know 3 Minute Board Games raved about it, and I'm definitely interested in finding out more as far as, I remember at the time I was already interested in seeing how the game plays or seeing more about how the game plays to be able to figure out which way you're combining different abilities. It seemed interesting, so I'm interested in finding out more just from the crowdfunding campaign. I remember this one fondly from the crowdfunding campaign and being intrigued by the gameplay elements. We have Windmill Valley. This is coming from Board and Dice, another Board and Dice title over here. This is going to be a slightly lighter game, so I mentioned they do medium to heavy games generally. This is going to be a little on the lighter side. Thinker Thema just dropped a review on this one. Overall seemed very positive, and so this is one that I'm intrigued by. The nature of the combining the wheels to take your abilities in the game. Again, beautiful production, a publisher who's well known, reviews already dropping if they're positive. That has me interested in Windmill Valley, where it wasn't really on my radar before. We have Jekyll and Hyde versus Scotland Yard. Very intrigued by this one. I really like Jekyll and Hyde as a little trick-taking game. This is going to be a cooperative trick-taking game. So it takes Jekyll and Hyde, which is a competitive two-player trick-taking, and this makes it a cooperative two-player trick-taking game. Again, illustrated by Vincent Dutrait, and maintaining the same theme but different at the same time. So as a huge fan of Jekyll vs. Hyde as a trick-taking experience, I'm interested to see how they took this one, made it cooperative while maintaining, maintaining similar elements and art and theme of the game. We have Video Game Champion. Video Game Champion is, I believe it's going to be a Dice Tower Essentials coming to you from Arcane Wonders. This is going to have you taking the good old nostalgic days of, well, video games and 8-bit video games, collecting and learning cheat codes and all that. It's gonna have an interesting action selection system where you're gonna be taking tiles and then you're gonna be taking tiles from an action grid or whatnot, and then activating different tiles in the row or column. I had a chance to very briefly see this one at Origins. I got a little quick 1 minute overview of the game, and besides for the art and besides for the Dice Tower Essentials, it did look like it had interesting elements as far as the actual selection of your actions that would make it more engaging. And again, 8.2 is pretty solid. We have Invincible, the hero building game. This was not on my radar at all, and I don't know why it wasn't, because I like the Invincible TV show, I like Direwolf. I don't know why this wasn't really, maybe just the IP nature of it had me not as enthusiastic or certain it would be a good game, but from all accounts, from people who have played this one, this seems to be getting really rave reviews, really solid reviews, and so I'm very interested in finding out more about this one. I've heard that it plays similar to a combination of like almost Dune Imperium combined with Marvel United. Is that, like, I know Marvel United wasn't thrown into the mix, but I heard something else combined with it, but those are both games that definitely intrigue me. I'm interested in finding out more about this one, the cooperative, the deck building aspect of it, the cooperative nature of it, the fact that it's from Direwolf, who does really solid games. Very interested in finding out more and playing this one at some point, but also picking this up. This is my second most anticipated game of Gen Con 2024. And then my most anticipated is Everdell Duo. I don't know what changes they're making to Everdell. I don't know what they're going to be doing differently with Everdell, but Starling Games is back with Everdell, with a new version of Everdell, illustrated by, is this illustrated by Andrew Bosley? Oh my gosh, I thought Andrew Bosley was done with Everdell. I may have misunderstood that. I don't know. I thought Andrew Bosley was done with Everdell, but it's showing him over here. But either way, Everdell Duo is a two-player version of Everdell. I'm Yeah, I like Everdell. I like Everdell a lot, and so every Everdell game for me has worked for me. From the My Little Everdell to all the expansions, which I haven't played all the expansions, to Far Shore. I really like the Everdell system. I like the Everdell game. I like the Everdell universe, and so I'm very interested in finding out more and playing Everdell Duo. There's always a chance that this is the first one that I'm like, who needs it? But so far, they have continued to deliver games that I continuously want to play, and so this is my most anticipated Gen Con 2024 game. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. If you are on your way to Gen Con, I hope you enjoyed. If you're not on your way to Gen Con, well, these are 20 more games to add to your list of things that might be worth having on your radar. Although, again, this is less of a recommendation list because these are more things I want to find out more about as opposed to things I feel a bit more confident actually recommending. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.